The waiting room was a battlefield of emotions, fear, exhaustion, grief, and silent prayers. The sound of beeping monitors, shuffling nurses, and crying children filled the air. But in the corner, one man sat hunched forward, his hands pressed to his face, shoulders trembling as if the world had finally won. He wasn't just tired, he was breaking. Jack Miller, a single father of two, had carried burdens far heavier than anyone ever knew. His wife had died 3 years earlier, leaving him to raise his children alone. He had no family to lean on, no safety net, just his own 2 hands and a determination to give his kids a chance at a better life. By day, he worked long shifts as a mechanic, his hands permanently stained with grease. By night, he did food deliveries, coming home past midnight to tuck his kids in and collapse on the couch. But tonight, it was different. Tonight, his youngest daughter, Lily, had collapsed at home. One moment, she had been drawing at the kitchen table, and the next she was gasping for breath. Jack had scooped her into his arms, his heart racing faster than his footsteps as he rushed her into the ER. Now, as she was behind those sterile doors, surrounded by doctors and machines, Jack sat powerless. His body shook as tears poured from him, years of pent-up fear and grief breaking loose. He wept not just for his daughter, but for the countless nights he had swallowed his tears to stay strong for his children. He wept because he couldn't lose her too. And as he sat there, broken and alone, someone approached. She was elegant, poised, her dark coat flowing behind her as she walked. She sat quietly in the chair beside him, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. Her voice was soft, but strong enough to slice through the noise around them. "You don't have to cry alone," she said. Jack lifted his head, startled. Her face was familiar, too familiar. He had seen it on magazine covers, in headlines, on television interviews. Evelyn Hart, the billionaire widow of Richard Hart, hotel magnate and philanthropist. She was a woman whose life seemed worlds away from his, a life of luxury, money, and influence. But tonight, she wasn't the untouchable Evelyn Hart. She was simply a woman sitting beside a man who had lost all strength. Jack sniffed, embarrassed, wiping his face with his sleeve. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to." "Don't apologize for being human," Evelyn interrupted gently. Her eyes softened. "I've cried in this very place before. Alone. And I wished someone had told me it was okay to fall apart." Jack blinked. "You, here." She gave a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. 2 years ago, when my husband's plane went down. This was where they brought him. I sat in this room for hours, waiting for news that never came. People stared, but no one came to sit beside me. Not one person." Her gaze held his. "I won't let you go through that the way I did." Jack's throat tightened. For the first time that night, he felt less invisible. The hours stretched on. Jack told Evelyn about Lily, how she loved to sing off-key, how she carried her mother's laugh, how she was braver than any little girl should have to be. Evelyn listened, truly listened, leaning in as though each detail mattered. She asked questions about his late wife, about how he managed with 2 children and 2 jobs. And when Jack's voice broke, she didn't look away. In turn, Evelyn shared her own loneliness. She spoke of how the world saw her wealth but never her grief. Of how people crowded around her for what she could give, but none stayed for who she truly was. And as the night grew longer, their words stitched together 2 broken hearts in the most unlikely place. Finally, a doctor emerged. Jack leapt to his feet, bracing himself. "Your daughter is stable," the doctor said, smiling faintly. "She'll need monitoring, but she's going to be okay." Relief hit Jack so hard his knees nearly buckled. He pressed his face into his hands, whispering, thank you," as tears of gratitude replaced fear. Evelyn touched his arm. "Go to her," she whispered. He turned to her, his eyes red but shining. "Thank you for sitting with me. I didn't realize how much I needed someone there." Evelyn's lips trembled into a smile. "Neither did I." Days turned into weeks. Evelyn visited Lily at the hospital, bringing small gifts, coloring books, stuffed animals, nothing extravagant, just thoughtful. Lily adored her immediately, calling her Miss Eve. Jack, though hesitant, couldn't deny the comfort Evelyn brought. When Lily was finally discharged, Evelyn insisted on driving them home. Jack resisted, ashamed of his run-down apartment in a forgotten corner of the city, but Evelyn didn't hesitate. She walked into the small, peeling space and looked around not with judgment, but with warmth. She knelt on the floor with Lily, listening to her chatter, while Jack watched silently from the kitchen doorway. For Evelyn, this tiny apartment held more life, more love, than all the marble halls of her mansions. And for Jack, seeing a billionaire widow kneel on his worn carpet to laugh with his daughter was a sight he'd never forget. But the world noticed. Soon, tabloids filled with speculation, billionaire widow seen with struggling mechanic, charity or romance. Jack's co-workers teased him, some cruelly suggesting he was using her. The weight of it pressed on him until, one evening, he told Evelyn, "Maybe you shouldn't come around anymore. I don't want people thinking I'm after your money." Her eyes darkened, hurt flickering across her face. "Do you think that's why I'm here?" Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know why you're here. I'm just a guy barely keeping the lights on. You're..." He gestured helplessly. "You." Evelyn's voice broke as she whispered, "I'm me. A woman who lost everything that mattered. A woman who sat in that alone, until you let me sit with you. You see me, Jack. Not my money, not my name, me. And I don't want to lose that." Her words silenced him. For the first time, he understood, maybe he wasn't the only one being saved. Months passed, and Evelyn became part of their lives. She joined them for simple dinners, cheered at school plays, read bedtime stories. The children adored her, and slowly, Jack allowed himself to as well. Her laughter returned warmth to his home. Her kindness reminded him that love didn't always come dressed as perfection. One night, after the kids had gone to sleep, Jack and Evelyn sat on the couch in the quiet. Jack stared at her, his heart heavy with gratitude. "I thought I'd be alone forever," he whispered. "That no one would ever want the broken pieces of me." Evelyn took his hand, her eyes glistening. "And I thought money could fill the emptiness. But it didn't. You did." And for the first time in years, two broken souls who had once wept in silence found healing in each other. Years later, Lily would remember that night not as the time she was sick, but as the night her father met the woman who became family. And Jack would always remember Evelyn's first words, the words that carried him through the darkest night of his life. "You don't have to cry alone. Because sometimes, love doesn't come from where you expect. Sometimes, it finds you in the waiting room of life, when a stranger chooses to sit beside you."